Hi, this is Miss Chrissy. I am learning how to write with my left hand with the Get Set for School book from Handwriting Without Tears. I'm actually learning how to write with my left hand. I'm typically right-handed, but it's an important exercise so that I can teach the average person how to look at hand function and how to teach kids how to write. So you start out with a nice tripod grasp. You're working to make sure you have that flexible dynamic movement. I have broken crayons and that helps reinforce that grasp. This is really hard for my hand. You notice how hard it is for my hand to actually hold the crayon and move it. Notice I'm holding the book with my right hand as a helper hand. Make sure your student is doing that as well. I'm practicing just using the crayon without coloring, just because that crayon pressure against the page is actually providing exercise for my joints and my muscles to make them stronger. The crayon is harder to use than a pencil or a marker. It's actually more exercise. So if a student has some hand weakness, maybe you would have them start with a marker and then slowly work up to a crayon to build the muscles, but know that their hands are going to be tired. Even as an adult, I notice that my hand is getting tired just from doing this motion. Now notice I'm doing a rotation motion with my fingers. You can work on up and down. You can work on side to side. You can rotate. You can have the child pick a different color or make little tiny lines. Just remember that the purpose in this activity isn't to finish the page or to get it colored. The purpose of this activity is actually to work on strokes and build the musculature that the child is going to need to make vertical and horizontal lines. Notice here I'm practicing in all different directions. Horizontal, vertical, rotating, diagonal. I notice with the left hand I'm actually using my extensor muscles more. I'm to push away, whereas with the right hand when I'm writing and I'm making a line across, I'm using my flexor muscles to pull the line towards me. But when I'm pushing away here, when I'm making my horizontal lines, I'm using my extensor muscles in my left hand. And then when I bring it back to me, I'm using my flexors. It's just interesting to consider a left-handed writer versus a right-handed writer and where the musculature needs to be stronger for the pushing motion or the pulling motion, depending on which hand the student uses. Now notice here I am again working on that vertical stroke. My wrist was coming up off the page. I had to correct that and put my wrist back down on the page. Even being an established writer, I'm noticing myself have some bad habits. So I have to stop, get my crayon off the page, work on that movement again. Trying to slowly fill in the little spaces and working on different strokes. Again, trying to exercise the musculature. I notice that my arm actually wants to try and take a lot of the work versus my hand, and so I have to keep trying to bring the work back to my hand. This is something that students will also be working on, and please consider that as you're teaching them.